Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Tech Talk Tuesday here at Treadwell. Edward Titley is my name. If you've joined us before, welcome back. And if you're joining us for the first time, thanks for joining and welcome. We hold these sessions every 2 weeks, typically on a Tuesday at this time, 1:30 p.m. generally as well. And we run over a few things related to FRP, to design standards, to fabrication, repair methods, use cases, all sorts of stuff around FRP and the sort of infrastructure and projects we get ourselves involved in. So continuing on with the rail theme, because we're gearing up for Ausrail in Melbourne in a few weeks. Look forward to seeing you all there, by the way. Today we're looking at FRP in rail, a bit of a continuation on from last session where we looked at why we would consider FRP in the rail space. So very briefly carrying on from that, we know the rail sector is a pretty critical part of the transport network, especially these days. A lot of upgrades are happening in the space, upgrades, improvements, new rolling stock, new maintenance facilities, platform height raising, all these sort of things that we need to do. And as part of that process, we have some concerns around ease of installation, earthing and bonding concerns in the electrical environment, durability concerns as well. So today we'll explore 4 projects. We might even get this one done ahead of time, which will be, I think, probably a first. But we'll explore 4 projects that we've worked on in the rail environment. A few of them with multiple parts, but a bit of a brief discussion on why FRP was helpful in those environments and what the usage of FRP was. So we'll start off with a pretty typical one. Now, this structure is called an ESAP, or an Elevated Safe Access Platform. Now, what this does is, what you see here is a stabling yard. So when the train's not in use, they're stabled or parked up here. And then various things done to the trains, they're cleaned, and the internal maintenance and so on is able to be done in this yard. And to allow that to happen safely, previously the trains have ladders on the side, and the staff would try and climb up those, and obviously they're carrying tools, they're carrying mops and buckets and rubbish receptacles and all manner of things, which is a safety problem. So the client came to us looking for a solution to this issue. Obviously, metallic structures are not practical here. We can see our overhead wiring and close proximity to the masts or gantries for these platforms, so not really a viable option to consider steel. The other aspect is that these tracks in the foreground are a refuge loop, so that can't be taken offline. We can't isolate the power to that. We need to keep that available, given heavy rail, freight, and passenger trains share this line. So that sort of narrowed down the options a bit. And these structures you see here, there was 32, I think, of them, somewhere in there, 32, 35, something like that. They were all brought in stick built because the overhead wiring couldn't be isolated. Couldn't bring in a high on a high rail truck. We couldn't bring in any equipment, cranes, that sort of stuff. So FRP was lightweight, and this was all brought in by hand. These platforms, the slabs were done, and some levels of those were taken, and then we did our design. Once everything arrived to site, about 13 days for these 32, or I think it was 32, might be 35, but these approximately 30 platforms to be built. So 13 days, and that was a quick turnaround, a quick stick build install. We supplied to site palletized materials, and that was put in, stick built in on site like a large Meccano set, if you like. So prefab, pre-cut, pre-drilled. The handrails were pre-assembled. A fabricated length of FRP handrail, 3 meters long, weighs about 20 kilos. So good option for that. Another aspect, the client needed a durable solution. They'd tried some FRP that was not suited to Australian conditions on a previous project, and found that after a couple of years, the surface, especially of the handrail, was excessively roughening and presenting an issue or a risk of glass splinters, glass shards to people. That's obviously a pretty serious safety problem. So they wanted to get something that was suitable and fit for purpose, and that's our Rail-X product here, the round handrail. Unique surface finish, will not blast, splinter, will not roughen. Absolutely not going to do that. So good long-term solution as far as a low maintenance structure. And then obviously we mentioned earlier the earthing and bonding aspect, not really practical here, or a significant amount of earthing and bonding would be required to use a steel structure here. So FRP was a good choice. I should also just say on the way through, Q&A box is open. If you have any questions about the project, just chuck them in as we go, or else wait to the end and ask any other questions. If you'd like to have a more in-depth discussion on any of these projects, feel free to do so, but the Q&A window is open, so you're welcome to ask any questions as we go through. Now, moving on to some projects in Melbourne. There's a couple of aspects here you can see of FRP in the corridor. First one here is, it's in my mouse, these are little step overs. So this allows, and just a question from Ronnie, do we have a solid floor product? No gaps? Yes, we do. You can see one of them as the 5-foot walkway here, but there's others as well. The short answer is yes, we've got several solid products with no gaps. Good for high heel areas and those sort of things. So the product on the left here in this photo is what we call micromesh that has a 6mm opening nominally. Little stair structure. So these were supplied pre-assembled. In this instance, these were lifted in by a high rail high-ab truck, pre-assembled by Treadwell, lifted into place and simply fixed down. So that provides some emergency egress from in the viaduct up on across this concrete. Not quite sure what to call it, along across this concrete section and then onto the 5-foot grating. Or 5-foot walkway. So this is a solid interlocking product. And another question, probably tested from NCC compliance. Not sure what compliance you're speaking to specifically. The NCC doesn't reference FRP as a material, but yes, we're tested to the fire requirements of C1.10. We're tested to slip requirements. We can consider the seismic loadings and design loadings and so on from AS 1170. So yes, it can be used as a structure suitable for the requirements of the NCC. Also stair rises, balustrading infills, all that sort of thing. So if you're thinking something more specific, feel free to perhaps drop us an email at hello@treadwellgroup.com.au. Otherwise, feel free to put it on the chat. But if you'd like a more in-depth discussion around compliances, just drop it on the chat. hello@treadwellgroup.com.au, or drop your email address on the Q&A chat and we'll send you an email after this. Sorry, once again here, so we've talked about the stair structures. Now this central walkway, this is an interlocking board, tongue and groove sort of system. However, it's a unique design where we can remove one panel, one plank, one board without removing the adjacent ones, which means from a maintenance perspective, much more practical than some interlocking products where if we wanted to remove a panel centrally to the structure, we'd have to remove everything adjacent to that to be able to remove it. That's obviously not really practical. And this one here, pretty tight timelines, significant cost savings by getting the rail up and running again ahead of time. So FRP being lightweight, some expedited transport options were able to be used, being air freight, and the lightweight nature of FRP helps with that. So that's good, and that helped the client get this open on time. No earthing and bonding requirements, lightweight, able to be brought in easily and installed. And the lightweight aspect also allowed these little staircases you see to be fully pre-assembled in our factory in Adelaide and then put on board to get delivered, pre-assembled, ready to be lifted in. This one here is a more interesting one. This is Glenfield Junction for Sydney trains. Now, the FRP part of it, this perhaps not extremely clear from the photo, is, if you can see my mouse, this front angle along the edge of the platform is a big FRP angle. It's a special profile we developed for this job, and it allows it's in effect a permanent formwork. Needed to be non-conductive because of some client issues with stray current and steel permanent formwork. I'm not quite sure. I'm not an electrical engineer. I don't quite understand how that worked, but there were some concerns with stray current, whether it was induction or something like that in the coping edge of the platform. I'm not sure, but with a metallic angle, and that stray current was transferred through the Rio, and someone got a tingle off a light pole. Not good. So by going to this FRP, effectively permanent formwork, that potential is removed. Once again, obviously, limited access, not able to be brought in by heavy equipment, so the lightweight nature of FRP meant that they could easily bring this in by hand. And then because of FRP's durability, this could be screened across the top of to raise up platform level to be more suitable for some new rolling stock, and then screened across the top of and left in place. So nice, consistent finish, good durable product from a lifespan perspective, and no electrical concerns as far as leaving that having a steel product close to the overhead wiring or close to the track. And then we're nearly at time, so hopefully we can finish on time. This here is Rosanna Station. Now, this here is what we call a tread slope. So this platform surface you can see here on the right-hand side, this is an FRP solution. Traditionally, we'd do this out of concrete, asphalt combination, something like that. So why FRP? One reason, well, the main reason was that this is a platform extension, and where this extension was proposed to be done, a lot of services underneath. Now, I haven't got a photo shown in this presentation, but we do have a photo showing conduit pipes, a whole bunch of services under here. So conventional materials like a concrete platform or filling an asphalt or whatever we normally do wasn't a suitable solution, because obviously we need to be able to remove this platform surface to get easy or able to have access to those services and do anything we need to do as far as maintenance and that sort of stuff. So this is another interlocking board, a bit like what we showed as the 5-foot walkway on the previous example. And this is an interlocking board. It's lightweight. One panel can be removed without touching the adjacent panel, so able to have some easy maintenance access there. And obviously, given it's open to the public and exposed to the weather, anti-slip surface is needed. All our products achieve a P5 rating to AS4586 and an R13 rating to the oil incline test, also AS4586. And we've also got some accelerated aging cycles, or a number of cycles, and able to show that after this aging process, the product still achieves the P5 rating to AS4586. And that's done on this product that we show here. So give you some assurance that we can have an anti-slip product that's durable and an anti-slip surface finish that's durable for the future. That's the end of the discussion. Finished a minute early, so that's nice for a change. So thanks everyone for joining. Trust it was some interesting information for you as far as FRP in the rail corridor. Any questions, hello@treadwellgroup.com.au, and I'll confirm that's the email address up on the screen. Feel free to drop us an email, or you can call the team 1-800-246-800 for Australia, 0800 244 600 for New Zealand. And we're scheduled for another webinar in 2 weeks, which is the 11th of November. Now, I won't be available that day, so stay tuned on our socials to see whether we run a webinar that day or whether that doesn't go ahead and we postpone it. Not quite sure what we'll do there yet, but stay tuned on the socials, LinkedIn, emails, and so on, and you'll see what we end up doing with that webinar. So see you in 2 weeks if we do. Otherwise, in the meantime, you can always get hold of us, hello@treadwellgroup.com.au. Stay on for a minute or so if there's any questions. Still got the Q&A window open. It's 1:45 here in New South Wales at the moment. So stay on for a minute or so if there's any more questions. Otherwise, we'll wrap it up and say once again, thanks for joining. Doesn't look to be any more questions. So if you think of something, hello@treadwellgroup.com.au, or if you'd like to have a project-specific discussion, site walk, anything like that, or even set up for a lunchtime CPD presentation, drop us a note at the email address here, and we'll be happy to set it up for you with either myself or one of the team. And thank you very much for joining. Have a good rest of the day.